Go for Soda from Kim Mitchell. Akimbo Alogo. Great solo album, early 80s. Kim was in a band before that that sort of gave him the notoriety called Max Webster, hailing from Toronto. Him and his partner Pi Dubois, who was the lyricist, wrote these kind of almost semi-progressive, kind of Zappa-esque, sojourns in context of the moon. Stuff like this. We're going to look at a little bit of a tune called, from that era, called High Class and Borrowed Shoes, and see how Kim's use of chromaticism comes into play. I guess he was a pretty big fan of Ornette Coleman, the jazz saxophonist. So some cool stuff that you don't always hear in a rock player. And then of course he went on and had his solo career, as I said, with stuff like Go for Soda. Patio Lanterns was a big song, and his other bass player also played guitar and drums, I believe, too, and killer vocalist, Peter Fredette. Amazing guy, of course, doing All We Are. So, looking at High Class and Borrowed Shoes, we have that great sort of rock and roll intro with this. Okay, so that's a cool verse, like I said, straight ahead rock and roll kind of thing. This is the cool part in the middle of the verses where he does this full chromatic scale. He also borrowed that riff from himself later on for what's it called? For Czech. So chromatic scale being a series of half steps. There are half steps in the major scale. Those are not chromatic, they're diatonic half steps, meaning B to C, and C is a diatonic half step. C to C sharp would be a chromatic half step. So this is a chromatic scale up the neck. He has another part, he comes out of it with a really cool ending, which I think references kind of that Ornette Coleman kind of sound with some real cool chromaticism. Goes like this. Okay, so that's almost like a Pat Martino like in there, this. Very, very cool. I should add, I have the dubious distinction of getting told to F off by Kim. I met him when I was at Laurier studying music, and he did a show there. He had two drummers, the phenomenal Paul DeLong, and I'm sorry I don't remember the other drummer. Paul certainly doesn't need a second drummer, but incredible. Might have been Chris Sutherland, also a powerhouse drummer. Anyway, I met him, and I just wanted to tell him what a fan I was of his playing. And I said, in a way, he kind of reminds me of a Satriani. He had that kind of fluidity, and particularly on an album, Universal Juveniles, where he really does some fancy technical playing. And he basically said F off, and that was fantastic because, I mean, modest to the core, the Canadian trait that he wouldn't think he was on par with the Satriani. But in a strange way, for us guitar players, he kind of was. So back to the tune, we have that line. Here's another nice little excerpt from High Class and Borrowed Shoes. Something like that. So Kim Mitchell, I already opened with Patio Lanterns. That's a very cool one. Such a cool sound with that clean strat tone he gets. And just sort of almost a Hendrixy, like, double stops where you're holding a couple notes and hammering and pulling off. essentially a 1-4-5. Mostly, it's got this flat 7 here, right? And then some big distorted guitars come in. I mean, also back to Universal Juveniles, also did a song with Rush called Battle Scars, where you have Geddy on bass and Neil on drums, and just a massive song with Kim's band too. Check that one out, Battle Scars. So that's our look at Kim and his band Max Webster. Huge icon. Later ended up being a DJ on Q107, and then had a guitar lessons segment you can watch on YouTube, of course, where he teaches some of his stuff and just teaches cool riffs and cool licks that he knew growing up. So hope you enjoyed that. We're getting close to doing one of my all-time favorite bands. Definitely up there for me with the Beatles and Zepp, and that would be Rush and Alex Lifeson. So I can't wait to do that lesson. And please like and subscribe if you're enjoying this. I guess it helps the algorithm. I'm not too worried about it though. You know, just hit that 100, and then we'll see what we can do. But thanks for checking it out. Hope you liked it, and see you on the next one.